Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vitvishravahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Lokashankaram Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam. Paramanandamadhavam. Hari Om. So far, in this wonderful, beautiful text, Manah Shodanam, we have seen so many points. Pujya Guruji, the author of the text, started by impressing on our mind the importance of purification of mind. In any walk of life, and more so in spiritual life, how important is it to purify our mind? That was the first topic that was taken. Then he went on to explain that since we need to purify our mind, what are the means for it? So 6 means were just mentioned, but the 7th mean of enquiry, vichara, was taken up as the best means and therefore taken up for discussion. So Pujya Guruji explained from Bhagavad Gita also, see how vichara is the best means for purifying our mind and therefore vichara kartavya, therefore enquiry should be undertaken. Right? Now what kind of enquiry? So there also we saw that 2 levels of enquiries are possible. One is you connect everything to the Supreme, Nirguna Nirakara, and then all other discussions will be off the chart. They will not even matter. But the second method is you inquire into each and every impurity and find out its flaws and then attack it. While doing this, we had taken anger as one impurity and we had analyzed, from where it comes, what are its implications on us, how does it express, etc., etc. Now, how Guruji took the inquiry? Guruji said, you take all the impurities and find out what causes all of them. What is the cause for them? And that cause we found out to be ignorance. So ignorance only, when I don't know myself, when I don't know the reality of the world, I consider the objects to be real, satta, adhyasa. Then I consider that they are good or bad according to my liking, shobhana adhyasa. And then on top of that, I create sukha adhyasa or dukkha adhyasa, that this will give me joy, that will give me sorrow. Now, the moment I have created this adhyasa, superimposition on the world of objects, what I have actually done, I have divided the entire world into 2 parts. Things like objects, people and situations that I like, raga, and objects, situations and people that I don't like, dvesha. The moment this raga, dvesha has come, kama, desire is natural. Why? Because I will have natural desire to be with things that I like and to be away from things that I don't like. Kama comes. When kama is opposed, krodha comes. When kama is satisfied, lobha comes. Greed. When anger becomes too much, you forget all that is correct. You get deluded. Moha comes. When lobha, more and more you keep getting, you feel elated, you feel proud. Mother comes. It also leads finally to matsarya, jealousy. And thus we are then into this full mess of all the impurities of mind, disturbing our mind continuously. From where all this has started? From that ignorance. So if you remove the ignorance, all other problems will be solved. But there is a catch. What is the catch? Ignorance being the cause, being the chief, is very difficult to attack. And therefore, we have to use the method of twofold method. One, keep attacking the ignorance, but at the same time, keep attacking these impurities also, its effects also. How to attack the effects, how to attack these impurities one by one? Puja Guruji said that I don't have to say anything new on it. Why? Because upayastu pura prokta. Already upaya is given. In Bhagavatam, this upaya is given, and therefore he quoted 4 verses explaining to us how every single negativity in us, impurity in us, needs to be tackled. So kama, the first impurity from which all others are born, how to tackle that? Asankalpat jayet kamam. You stop wishful, fanciful thinking. Why? Because from that only kama is born. Kama janamite moolam sankalpat kila jayate. You are born from sankalpa, I know it. And therefore kama, I am not going to think so that you will not be born. Stop wishful thinking. Asankalpat jayet kamam. Krodham kama vivarjanat. How to attack anger? Don't attack anger on anger. Attack anger on its cause. That is the desire. The moment I don't impress upon fulfilling the desire, I will not be agitated. I will not be angry. Don't give chance for anger to come. So attack the cause, the effect will automatically go. That was the idea. Artha, anartha, ikshaya, lobham. The third door to the hell. Isn't it? Trividham narakassedam dwaram. Nashanam atmanaha. Kama, krodhas, tatha, lobha. Tasmade tatrayam tejet. Kama, krodha, and the third door is lobha. How to attack greed? I want more and more and more. Artha, anartha, ikshaya. Please see clearly that artha actually can become anartha. How? If that artha is earned for an ignoble cause, if it is earned in an unrighteous way, if artha, wealth is there more than what I need, it will become anartha, it will become a calamity. Understand this properly, see it properly, you will no more have greed. Artha, anartha, ikshaya. Here in the last session, we also saw a very beautiful story of Devatas, Manushas and Danavas going to Brahmaji, and the Upadesha of Brahmaji of the, remember? And that the interpreted by 3 different species in a different way. Dhamma, Dhamma means self-control, to tackle Kama. That's how Devatas understood. Manushas understood the as Dana, to counter Lobha. Why? Because naturally human beings are selfish. We want to hold on to things. We want to keep everything with us. The opposite of it is Dana, share. Don't keep anything with you. And third, Asuras understood that the as Daya, compassion. Why? Because anger, Krodha is natural to them. How to tackle that? Be compassionate. You cannot be angry on somebody whom you are compassionate about. You cannot. Right? So this is the method to tackle these 3 main enemies of us. Then what? Bhayam tattva marshana. 4th one, bhayam, fear. We saw the fear is born of what? Fear is born of second. Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. We are always afraid when there is somebody other than me. The moment I understand there is nobody other than me, I alone am there, there is no chance of fear. Tattva avamarshana means what? To understand the truth. What is the truth? I alone am. Advaitam Satyam. I alone am there. I am the only one reality. There is nobody other than me. Who will attack whom? I am never afraid of my own hand going and slapping my own face. I may be afraid of somebody's hand slapping my face. That is possible. Why? Because this is mine. This is mine. I am not afraid of that. Right? So, tattva avamarshana bhayam. This is how we have to win over these. Then what? Anvikshikya shokamoha. Two of the deadliest enemies, shoka and moha. Shoka and moha, shoka, sorrow or grief, and moha, delusion. How to tackle them? Anvikshiki. Anvikshiki here means self-knowledge, because that alone can remove moola moha ajnana. And then there won't be any delusion, there won't be any grief. This is the method used by Bhagavan Shri Krishna also. This is the method used by Upanishads also to clear off the shoka and moha. Dambham mahadupasaya. Beautiful. Dambha, pretentiousness. Hypocrisy, to show what I am not. How to tackle that? Mahadupasaya. You serve the great people. Why? Because in service, your ego will be reduced. And you are serving a Mahatma. Mahatma understands you like this. You cannot pretend in front of a noble soul. You cannot. And more you start serving, more and more your mind becomes purified, and therefore you don't want to pretend anymore. That's the beauty of it. Whenever we serve a Mahatma, we ourselves change from within. Not that somebody else has to tell us. Not that the Mahatma has to keep telling us, giving Upadesha every day. No. Just by that service, our internal change starts to happen. Mahadupasaya. Yogantaran maunena. What is that? Means what? Whatever obstacles come in the path of yoga, different obstacles they talk of, maunena. We had seen one of the obstacles, and that is attainment of siddhis, powers, etc. And not necessarily the powers that they speak, in the TV serials, etc., that I can lift anything, that not that kind of power. But you will easily be able to understand people's behavior, mind, how are they thinking. And then suddenly they will say, oh, you already know, oh, you are such a Mahatma. They will come and prostrate to you, and they will say, oh, without you, what would have happened? And then you immediately say, thank you. What has happened? That siddhi has gone into your head. Then what? Then you will forget what is the purpose. Why did you start? Where you have to reach? Forgot all that. Don't do that. Maunena. Maunena means be silent. Don't pay attention to all these siddhis. Don't talk about it. Just keep walking. Maunena himsam kayadi anihaya. Himsa. How should I tackle this? What we say, himsa is violence. It can be physical violence, we saw last time. Even our words should not create any kind of disturbance in people's mind. Even our thinking should be like that. How can I do that? Kayadi anihaya. By controlling my physical activities. That is the method to control violence. Himsam kayadi anihaya. And then what? Next one, we saw that there are three places from where sorrow comes to us. They are also called as three types of tapa. What are they? Adhi bhautika, Adhi daivika, and Adhyatmika. Adhi bhautika, pertaining to the beings around me, world around me. Sorrow comes from them. How? Because of many reasons it may come. Somebody is behaving in a particular way. You say that, no, Veggie, every day morning I think that I am not going to get angry. But my children are so that the moment I see their face, they start irritating me, and then I become so angry. So we think that people around me are creating disturbance in me. What you should do? Kripaya. Bhutajam dukkham kripaya. Kripaya means what? By compassion. What do you mean by compassion? Understand that they are also walking the same path. May not be walking with you, but they are on the same path. Give them chance to come. Give them chance to grow. Don't judge. Don't get disturbed. Kripaya, be compassionate. Daivam jaihyat samadhina. Then second cause is Adhyatmika. No, then Adi Daivika. If Adi Bhautika is not there, then Adi Daivika. Adi Daivika means from natural forces over which we have no control. Suddenly, whenever I want to go out, it will start to rain. All other times when I am sitting inside the home, it will not rain. and that creates disturbance in my mind. What you should do? Samadhina. Be equanimous. It's okay. Say it's okay. What is the big deal? It is raining, so wear raincoat. No, but so raincoat, even if you wear, then inside it water will go. Okay, keep it for drying. It will dry off. What a big deal. What is there in that? Such a big thing or what? Carry umbrella, change your timing of going. 100 other things are possible. Don't get disturbed. Dukkha is disturbance. Don't allow it to happen. Atmajam yoga viryena. There are many difficulties, neither coming from the world around me nor from natural forces. Where is the problem coming from? Within me. Suddenly my mind says, today I am feeling very sad. Arre? Nobody said anything. Weather is very beautiful, nice. No, but my mind has decided today I am going to be sad. What will you do? Atmajam yoga viryena. With the strength of yoga. Yoga here means what? Entire sadhana that you are doing. Just as your mind can tell you that today I am sad, you can also tell your mind today I am not sad. It's your mind. You are in charge. Mind doesn't get to decide what I am going to do today. You get to decide. You say shut up. Mind says no, today is Sunday, no, let us not attend the class. Anyways, Veggie keeps talking the same thing, every class is same only. Last class what he told, no, nothing new he's telling. You say shut up. I am going to listen. Even if it is same, so what? Let me listen. Just as mind can talk something else, I can also counter it. But how will I get that strength to say no to my mind? We have seen in our life also, to say no to somebody, we need strength. To say yes, we don't need strength, actually speaking. Isn't it? We go with the flow and the things happen. But when I have to say no, you have to be strong and say that, oh, people are going to keep persuading me, but I am going to say no. So to say no, you need strength. Similarly for mind, when mind wants to do something and when you say no, not that I am going to do this, it needs strength. From where it will come? It will come from your own sadhana. You have practiced japa, puja, dhyana, etc., study, etc. That will give you strength. Yoga viryena. But Veggie, actually my problem is none of these. Whatever was discussed so far is actually not my problem at all. I don't have kama, krodha, lobha, moha. Basically, I will tell you, I am not interested. You are not interested means in what? I am not interested in anything. Even to get angry, I am too lazy. Unnecessarily, you see, if I get angry, then I will talk, then they will talk, then I have to listen to them. Why? Well, some people are there, they are so lazy that they don't even open their mouth for good thing or bad thing. They don't open their mouth at all. What do you want? I just want to sleep. Sunday is for what? Sleeping. No thinking. Whenever you have any kind of thinking, you sleep. All the problems will be solved. In school also, we used to think like that. That tomorrow my exam is there. So there used to be a big question. Should I study at night, finish everything and then sleep? Or should I get up in the morning? And then mind will give you a nice idea. Mind will say, you know what you should do? You should close the book immediately and sleep early, so that you will get up early in the morning. Then with that fresh mind, you can study and then you can give exam. But we know what used to happen. We used to sleep early in order to get up early, but we never got up early. We used to get up late. And after getting up late, we will be so much stressed. Why? Because we slept so much. Or in the afternoon, the mind will say, let us take nap of half an hour. After you get up, after half an hour, you'll be fresh, study. That half an hour will easily become 2.5 hours and we will not even know. Then later on when we grow, then we say, no, this sleep, I don't know what to do with this sleep. I can't get up early in the morning. Even if I can get up early in the morning, I don't feel like getting up from the bed. I just want to lie down there. Sattvam, nidram, sattva, nishevaya. How to tackle this problem of sleep, laziness, procrastination? How to tackle all these things? Sattva, nishevaya. You inculcate sattvic habits. That's the only way you can do it. There is no other way. Inculcate sattvic habits. Sattvic habits means what? Sattvic habits of food. Eat proper food at proper time. Sattvic habit of sleep. Sleep at proper time. Sattvic habit of thinking. Sattvic habits of what you take inside. See, in scriptures, Vedas, etc., Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita also, when they speak of food, food is not just what we eat from our mouth. Food actually represents everything that we take from all our five senses. So what I see is food for eyes. What I hear is food for ears. So everything that comes inside, I should be very careful about. Why? Because we know, suppose I watch some disturbing TV show, etc., I can't sleep at night. Suppose I listen to something disturbing, somebody talking something, I can't sleep at night. So what it means is, sattvic habits doesn't only pertain to the food that I eat from the mouth, but it pertains to every single thing. Inculcate sattvic habits and overcome what? Overcome this nidra. So in this way, three types of tapas are to be overcome by three different things. By compassion, the tapa that comes from around you. By equanimity, by the you tackle the tapa that comes from natural forces. And by your own strength of your own sadhana, you tackle the adhyatmika tapa also. And then nidra, how should I do? Inculcate sattvic habits. So far, we have seen that much. Now, let us go to the next verse. Verse number 22. Please repeat. Rajas tamascha sattvena.
Rajastamashcha sattvena.
Sattvam chopashamena cha.
Sattvam chopashamena cha.
Etat sarvam gurau bhaktya.
Etat sarvam gurau bhaktya.
Purusho hyanja sajayet.
Purusho hyanja sajayet.
Rajas tamascha sattvena. Sattvam chopashamena cha. Etat sarvam gurau bhaktya. Purusho hyanja sajayet. This is the last verse that is quoted. So 4 verses were quoted, isn't it? 19, 20, 21 and 22. This is the last verse that is quoted from Bhagavatam. What is he saying now? Naradji is giving Upadesha to Yudhishthira. Don't forget. And that's what is Upadesha for all of us. Now, what is he saying? Rajas tamascha sattvena. You overcome Rajas and Tamas by Sattva. Now, what is this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas? In short, we will see. Basically, these are the three qualities which are natural to Maya. Let me put it like that. Those who have studied Tattvabodha, Brahmashraya, Sattvarajas-tamo gunatmika Maya asti, tatah akasha sambhutah, tatah akashad vayu vayore. So what is that? Brahmashraya, Sattvarajas-tamo gunatmika Maya asti. These are the three qualities natural to Maya, and therefore every single thing that is born from Maya has these three qualities. What are these three qualities? I will give you two words to remember for each quality. You remember that, you will understand that, okay, this is Sattva, this is Rajas, this is Tamas. Right? More elaboration on these topics is done in Bhagavad Gita. Chapters 14, 16, 17, even part of 18. Lot of discussion on these three gunas is there. So you can study that to understand more. But basically, our mind, right now we are talking about mind, isn't it? Mind has got this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Mind has got the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas means the thoughts of the mind can be classified into these three. Each thought can be put in either of these. And there is no other thought which cannot be put in these three. That's how the classification is. So what is Sattva? The moment somebody says Sattva, two words should come to your mind. Knowledge and purity. Sattva word itself means purity. And Sattva also means knowledge. So knowledge and purity means what? Whenever I have noble thoughts, I want to study something nice, I want to help somebody, I want to do my sadhana, I want to get up early in the morning. These are positive thoughts, noble thoughts. They will be categorized under Sattva. Knowledge and purity. Rajas means what? Impurity and activity. Impurity and activity. Now impurity means what? All the thoughts that we saw, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, madha, matsya, everything will come under this rajas. Impurity. And what second thing? Impurity and activity, restlessness. Continuously I want to do something. Even if I sit, I want to keep moving my feet at least, or keep moving my hand, or something I want to do. You can't let me just sit. If I have pen in there, I will keep moving the pen, or I'll keep rotating the pen. Some activity I have to keep doing. That is the clear expression of rajas. So sattva is knowledge and purity. Rajas is what? Impurity and activity. Now tamas is what? Ignorance and laziness. Ignorance and laziness. Don't want to do anything. Sleep, inadvertence, carelessness, pramada, etc. All of that will come under this ignorance, this tamas. Now, please remember this. This tamas and sattva will appear very similar, but they are not. For example, suppose two people are fighting. Two people are fighting, and there are two people sitting and watching. But both are sitting and watching the fight doesn't mean both are same. One person may be thinking that there is no point in telling them anything. So let them, now they are angry, let them take out that anger, then I will tell them something. Other person may be saying, hey, they are like that only, let them fight and die. How does it matter to me? If I say open my mouth, then they will come for guidance from me, and then I will have to talk, and then I will have to remain awake. Too much trouble. Person will be sleeping, and you go and get up, do some work. Why? If you get up and work, then you will get money. Then if you get money, then you can buy luxury, everything, good objects and good house and good car and everything you can buy. Then if you can buy everything, and then nicely you can sleep. That too I am doing now also. Why I have to go through all these things and finally land up in the same thing? That I am doing now also. So I don't want to do anything because I am lazy is completely different from I don't want to do anything because it is not worth it. Understand the difference. In sattva, what is required will always be done irrespective of mood of the mind. In tamas, person is so lazy. Many times people even go to the extreme to say that rajas is more dangerous than tamas. Because they say that because see, tamas is so lazy, tamasic person is so lazy that even to do bad things, he will be lazy. And therefore he will not do. He will say too much trouble. Even to trouble some people also, he will say, leave them, let me sleep. This rajas is dangerous because he will be active. And if the right direction is not there, then will be active somewhere else. That's why sometimes they say that rajas is more dangerous, but it's not like that. Tamas is more dangerous because ignorance. They also, interestingly, they say ubhaya guna virodhi. This tamas is opposite to both of them. Rajas as well as sattva. You can see also, tamas has two aspects we saw. So ignorance aspect is directly opposed to sattva, and laziness is directly opposed to rajas activity, isn't it? So ubhaya guna virodhi. Now here, very beautifully he says, rajah tamah cha sattvena. You conquer rajas and tamas by sattva. What does it mean? Please don't misunderstand. What he wants to say here is, if tamas is there, you convert that tamas into rajas. And then if rajas is there, convert that into sattva. So if I am lazy, let me bring action into my life. If I am lazy and if I suddenly say that no, I should be sattvic, it will be too big a jump. Don't take that. First become active, but while being active, just try to be selflessly active. So slow transition from tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva. That's what it means when it is said that rajas tamascha sattvena. It doesn't mean if you have tamas, inculcate suddenly sattvic values. It will be too difficult. First, you at least get up and want to do something. And that's why people often get confused. Why? Because the different instructions are given. And that's why people get confused about it. Sometimes they say, no, veggie, sometimes in our Indian culture, they don't give so much importance to ambition. That is not the right thing. See, important thing is what, to whom is the upadesha given. If a person is lazy, obviously the upadesha will be get up and conquer the world. You should have such high ambition that everything should be under your control. That's how the upadesha will be. But if the upadesha is given to a rajasic person, the upadesha will be relax, chill, be quiet, try to keep your mind equanimous. Now understand, upadesha is different because to whom it is given is different. It's not conflicting with each other. The person changes, obviously the instruction will change, isn't it? Somebody calls you and says that I am coming to your house, not now. Now, to anyways, nobody can go to anybody's house. But in a normal situation where in the olden days, somebody calls and says that I want to come to your house. How should I come? What will you ask? Where are you? Because the instructions on directions will depend on where you are. Now, if you are in a one place, then I'll give different set of instructions. If you are in some other place, I'll give different set of instructions. Now, a person sitting next to you is listening to you, talking to two different people and giving different instructions, and then starts fighting with you. Oh, you are trying to trouble people, you know. To one person you said take right, to another person you said take left. How can you do that? Because because he was on left, so I had to tell him to take right. He was on right, therefore I had to tell him to take left. Instructions are different because people are at different places. Please don't get confused. Very often they say that exactly, you know, what your scriptures are trying to tell. That depends on to whom the instruction is given. So to a tamasic person, the instruction will be become active. To a rajasic person, the instruction will be become calm and quiet. So rajas tamascha sattvena. Okay. See the beauty of it. Sattvam cha upashamena cha. Even sattva you have to conquer. How? Because even sattva guna is bandha only. It's also a bondage. So how should I conquer sattva? For example, I'll just give example how sattva also can be a bondage. Suppose now I am supposed to sit and meditate, but I am getting good thoughts. Careful. I am not getting disturbed by anger or greed or fear. Thoughts are coming that, oh, how many people are suffering. See, the thought is noble, but at a wrong place. That's not to be thought of when you are meditating. When you come out of meditation, when you are active in the world, you think about it. So at that time, though the thoughts are noble, even those noble thoughts are also to be crossed. Bhagavan Shri Krishna beautifully says in Bhagavad Gita, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nityasattvastha Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Second chapter, he says, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha. Vedas speak of three gunas. Three gunas is what the Veda speaks about. The entire purview of Veda comes in these three gunas. What you should become, Nishtraigunya Bhava Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, you go beyond these three gunas. So Rajas and Tamas you have conquered by Sattva. Now how should I go beyond Sattva? Upashamena cha. Upashama means quietude, meditation. Don't allow even that. Meditate on what? Meditate on that which is nirguna. Then you will go beyond guna. That nirguna Brahman, because it is beyond all the three gunas, my continuous meditation on that Supreme will take me even beyond Sattva. So Rajas Tamas I conquer by Sattva, and Sattva also I conquer by quietude. Now somebody says, Veji, you know, already how many over? See, in first verse, in 19th verse, he spoke of 4. In 20th verse, he spoke of 4 or 5 more things, you know. Then 21st verse, another 4. Now here, another 3 are to be conquered. How many things am I supposed to conquer? 16? How? Why don't you give us one simple thing? This is very interesting in human mind. Okay, we always want to find shortcut. If suppose somebody says, no, suppose you call me and you say that, Veji, I want to what we say, win over my mind, what should I do? And suppose I give you answer that you will have to do sadhana for many years to come out of it. What will you say? No, don't go to Veji, okay? He gives very bad upadesh. He told me to do sadhana for many years. Now, suppose I say that, you know, hey, very easy. You want to control your mind, you want to control your anger, very easy. Every day morning, do this. That's it. Oh. Then everybody will say, you go to Veji, he gives very nice upadesh, very superb upadesh. Why? Because our mind always wants to find shortcut. Shortest way to do things. Think about it. Most of our innovations are because we are lazy. Think about it. They say, no, what is mother of innovation? Invention or something like that, they say. I say laziness.
Necessity.
What is that?
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Necessity is mother of invention. No? Laziness is mother of invention, I am telling you. We are lazy, therefore we have got this remote control. Isn't it? We are lazy to get up and change anything. We are lazy to pick up phone, therefore we have got mobiles now. Think about it. To do anything, we want shortcut. But please understand, in spiritual path, there are no shortcuts. So even when it is said that there is one solution that I will give, by which all of these can be conquered, please understand that that one solution has to be done in full measure. Then only it will work. So what is that one solution? Etat sarvam. He says, Etat sarvam. All these 16 impurities that I spoke of, Etat sarvam. Guru bhaktya. By the devotion in Guru. Purushahi anjasa jayet. A person who has got devotion for Guru will win over all these anjasa immediately. But remember, to have that devotion, how should it be? How should that devotion towards Guru be? It should be pure, total, and unconditional. Then you will conquer all the negativity. See, Shastra never lies. So if Shastra says that all these you will win over by one, and that is Guru Bhakti, it will happen. The important thing is that Guru Bhakti should be of that level. Then it will win over all the impurities. But of course, it is a simple path. Why? Because only one thing you have to develop. What is that? Devotion towards Guru. Now, the moment we say all these things, no, people immediately are very much skeptical. They say, you know, this Guru business is something that is always fishy. I don't understand why Guru is required. One famous anecdote is there. One person went to Gurudev and said, why Gurus are required? Are books not sufficient? So Gurudev in his style replied that, oh, you ask this question to books. Why are you asking me? If you think books are sufficient, then ask this question to books. In spiritual path, it is impossible to reach the supreme destination without a Guru. It is impossible. Okay? This is the stand of Shastras. Acharyavan Purusho Ved. Only a person who listens or learns or surrenders unto the Guru alone gets it. Nobody else. That's the stand. Even Shankaracharya ji, Naisha Tarkena Matirapaneya says Upanishad. That the spiritual path cannot be just walked on only with your tarka. Tarka means your inquiring mind or inquiring intellect or intelligence. That is not sufficient. Shankaracharya also says, Shastrajñopi swatantrena brahmanveshanam na kuryat. Even if you are a scholar, you know Sanskrit, you know this text, that text, everything you know. Even then, if you want to walk spiritual path, Brahmanveshanam, if you want to inquire into that Supreme Brahman, you cannot do it alone. Swatantrena na kuryat. You have to surrender unto a guru. It is absolutely must. Why? Because it is only a living person who is a living example of Shastra who can guide us and tell us, show us how to walk the path. You see, there are books and books written on sports, cricket, archery, badminton, tennis, but still you need a coach. Yes or no? So many books are available, physics, chemistry, mathematics, still you need teacher. Yes or no? Then how spirituality will be any different? Rather, spirituality need is even more. Why? Because your goal is something that cannot be perceived by any of the senses or mind or intellect. Veda itself says that I cannot describe that Brahman. I can only point out. Now, if such supreme thing I am searching for, subtlest thing that I am searching for, how can I do it without Guru? It is impossible. Somebody says, no, I agree that Guru is required, but who is my Guru? How do I know that? That is another question. Who is my Guru? Why Guru? I understand. Why Guru is required? Who is that Guru? See, simple answer to that is any person who removes your ignorance is a Guru. Simple. But how do I recognize that Guru? There is a very beautiful explanation given in Viveka Chudamani in the very beginning verses, where it says that you cannot search for Guru. Why? Because you will never know whether a person is really a Guru or not. Why? Because you are ignorant. You cannot expect yourself to recognize a knowledgeable person. You cannot. Isn't it? What happens? Guru finds you. You don't have to go and search for Guru. People say, no, but Vivekananda ji went. He did not went in search of Guru, actually speaking. If you really see Swami Vivekananda's life, he wanted to know, is there anybody who has experienced God? And he found somebody who said that, yes, I have experienced. Not only that, I can give you also that experience. And then he accepted Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji as his Guru. Also very interesting in the same story of Swami Vivekananda ji, it's not that he went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had once come to his college. That's how he knew that there is somebody called as Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So you see again, Guru came to his life. In everybody's life, you see in Gurudev, Puja Gurudev's life, he read Swami Shivananda's book. And that's what attracted him. That's how he went. He was not going door to door finding who is Guru. So Guru comes in our life. Very, very interesting. Puja Gurudev, while explaining this Vivek Chudamani's concept, used to give very beautiful example. He says that flower's job is to open up. And every single flower that has opened up has to go through pollination, and that is Vishnu Bhagavan's job. Narayana's job to make sure that pollination happens for that flower. So he says every single flower that opens up, the bee has to go and take the nectar out of it. And suppose you ask the question that the flower is right at the top of the mountain where the bee cannot reach. Narayana itself has to become bee and go there and make sure that the flower gets pollinated. Of course, Gurudev will used to dramatize. He used to say that Narayana will tell Lakshmi, just give me 2 minutes, I'll come. And he has to become the bee and fly there and pollinate that flower. Our job as seekers is to open up. To open up, to study and keep open attitude towards scriptures, towards spirituality. Then what? Then Guru comes to our life. And if we are at such a place where Guru cannot reach, God himself has to come as Guru. Why? That is the law of the nature. A seeker who is ready should and will get the teacher. Demand and supply, very clear law. The moment I need and I deserve, I will get it. Our job is what? To recognize that, oh, I have got the Guru, now surrender. Why Guru is required, we understood. Who is Guru required? How? That also we understood, that you just have to open up. What to do when I find a Guru? We have to surrender unto that Guru. Total surrender. It will come in, it will happen in time. You cannot expect that first time when you met somebody, first time you met Guru, that surrender was natural. It may not happen like that. It may happen over a period of time. When you see their impact on your life, when you see you are nothing without them, the surrender will become more and more intense. But the moment that happens, then we start living our life. In Marathi, there is one bhajan, abhanga. It says, "Ami bighadalo, tumi bighadana." In Marathi, puns are very much common. Bighadana also means, bighadana means going waste. But bighadana means you also change. And the different examples that are given in that abhanga are very, very, very superb. It says, "Parisacha sange loha bighadala. Loha bighadala suvarna chizna." When a metal comes in contact with philosopher's stone, the sorcerer's stone, no? What happens? That metal becomes gold. In some other place, in Shankaracharya says that this Guru is even in Dasbodh, in Samarth Ramdas Swami's Dasbodh, he says you should not give upama of this paras money, this magic stone, to Guru. Why? Because he says Guru is even better. That philosopher's stone can only convert metal into gold, but Guru can convert the Shishya into Guru. That metal he can convert into another philosopher's stone. That power only Guru has got. We come in contact with such a Guru, our entire life transforms. After that, it is only joy to live. All these impurities that were spoken of, kama, krodha, lobha, bhaya, all of them will just go away. Will go away. We have number of examples. Many of us will be living examples of this. We all remember how we were before meeting our Guru, and then suddenly something happened, we don't know. Whatever little purity we have got, that also is by the grace of Guru. The change will happen. What we need to do? First of all, open up so that the Guru comes in life. The moment Guru comes in life, understand that the Guru has come and surrender. Okay? Caution. I am not your Guru. Don't misunderstand. I may be teacher. I may be showing you path, but Guru is only one. You call him Gurudev, you call him Guruji, you call him Puja Swamiji, you call him anything. They are the Gurus. I am not the Guru. I may be a medium for you to connect to the Guru. You can consider Taponji Maharaj as your guru. You can consider Shivanji Maharaj. You can consider Shankaracharya himself. He is Jagat Guru. You can consider Lord Krishna himself as your guru. And walk the path that is shown. That is the way to live life. The moment we start doing that, all the impurities will run away. Will run away from you. You don't even have to do anything. They will be scared. They will be scared to come to your mind. Etat sarvam gurau bhaktya. This is the upadesha that Srimad Bhagavatam gives us. Now Pujya Guruji again composes 3 more verses and concludes the text. What does he say? Let us read verse number 23. What is that? Upadeshamimam nityam
Upadesham imam nityam
vimrishami punah punah
vimrishami punah punah
shamanam cha prapashyami
shamanam cha prapashyami
malanam tu shanai shanai.
malanam tu shanai shanaihi.
Upadeshamimam nityam vimrishami punah punah shamanam cha prapashyami malanam tu shanai shanai. I changed the tune because now we are gone back to the original text, not from Bhagavatam. Okay. Imam upadesham, this upadesha, this teaching of Bhagavatam, nityam, nityam, constantly, punah punah, again and again, vimrishami, I am reflecting on. I am reflecting on this teaching, how to conquer kama, krodha, lobha and all these impurities. I remember, I reflect on them again and again. Often, we don't understand the importance of punaravritti, of repetition. See, repetition is considered as dosha in many shastras, but in Vedanta Shastra, it is not considered as dosha. Why? Because it is important to stress on the point. Shri Krishna also gives similar answer to Arjuna, because Arjuna asked that, you gave such a beautiful path to me, path of karma yoga, then jnana karma sannyasa, dhyana, etc. But I don't think I will be able to do that. Why? Chanchalam hi manah Krishna, pramati balavadridham, kasyaham nigraham manye, vayoriva sudushkaram. He says, my mind is very, very chanchala. It doesn't stay at one place even for a moment. And I think that controlling this is impossible. Shri Krishna says, I agree, Arjuna. It is difficult, but it is possible to control the mind. How? Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. You can conquer your mind by abhyasa. Abhyasa means repetition. So whatever now vichara, enquiry we have done, it is not enough that you have done the enquiry once and that's it. Mind has understood. No. You have to bring those thoughts again and again to your mind. You have to remind every now and then. Then only it will remain fresh in the mind. See, that's how the medicines also work. Doctors will always give you medicine 1-1-1. Means what? Take 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. Why? Because the morning medicine that you have taken, the effect of it will go off in 8 hours. After 8 hours, you take 1 more. That effect again will continue for 8 hours. Again, it will go off. Take 1 more. Like that, keep taking dosages of spirituality. Not necessarily you have to listen, even reflection. Why do you think otherwise our ancestors, rishis, etc. brought so many shlokas that we are supposed to chant every day? The whole purpose was that we will remain focused. What is the need? Many people ask this question, no? Why should we chant 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita before eating? And there can be different reasons. One reason also can be because Bhagavan says there that I am the one who is digesting the food. But that is one reason. The most important reason is so that you will remember Bhagavan. You will remember that one who is eating is not you. That which is offered is just as you offer something as a surrender to Bhagavan. That's what is food also. You are reminded of the higher consciousness. That's what all these things they do. That's why we chant these stotras, etc. Similarly, every day you should chant, repeat these shlokas also. Not necessarily stotras only should be chanted. Vedantic texts also can be repeated. But how they should be repeated? Not mechanically. You reflect on the ideas given in those shlokas. And for that matter, you can even take just one shloka and keep reflecting on it for a whole day. Then take next another shloka, then reflect on it. Then take next one. Reflect on it. Guruji says, I am doing it again and again. Punaha punaha and nityam, constantly. What? Vimrushami. I reflect on this teaching. And then what? Shamanam cha prapashyami. If I do like this, then I see shamanam. Shamanam means reduction. Reducing. What? Malanam. Shamanam. These impurities I see reducing. Why? Because I am reflecting on these ideas, these thoughts again and again. How? Shanai Shanai. Very important word. Today I completed studying Manah Shodanam. So from tomorrow, no impurities will be there. It won't happen like that. Keep reflecting every day, daily. Keep doing that. Slowly, slowly they will reduce. See, they have come up also slowly. For how many births we have been living like that. That's why we are here. And that's why all these negativities are there. So don't think that in one magic day everything will go off. Oh, it happens slow. Any progress is slow. Anything that goes up fast comes down faster. Right? Shanai, Shanai. Slowly I see that these impurities also start to reduce. How? How the impurities reduce? Next verse. He says, Ishvara devam
ईश्वरानुग्रहादेवं
prasadena gurostatha
प्रसादेन गुरोस्तथा
kim na sadhyam maya loke
किं न साध्यं मया लोके
nischintohamatodhuna.
निश्चिन्तोऽहमतोऽधुना
ईश्वरानुग्रहादेवं प्रसादेन गुरोस्तथा किं न साध्यं मया लोके निश्चिन्तोऽहमतोऽधुना. He says, when I do this repeatedly, inquiry, I see that the impurities are reducing. How? Ishvara anugrahat evam. Evam, in this way, Ishvara anugrahat, by the grace of the Lord. Prasadena guroho. Guroho prasadena, and by the blessings of my guru, by the grace of my guru. Tatha kim na sadhyam maya loke. If their blessings and grace is there, kim na sadhyam maya loke. What is there in the world that I cannot achieve? Not that I am capable of it, but they are capable of it, and their grace and blessings are there with me. Then what is there that is unachievable for me? Therefore, ataha, therefore, aham nischintah adhuna. Adhuna means now. Aham nischintah. Now I am nischinta. Nischinta means without any worry, no tension. Why? Because when they are there, why should I worry? Guruji always says, no, you make God your partner in business. How you are partner in business? Like that, make God your partner in your life. And whenever there is a business and partnership, you divide the work. That you take care of this, I will take care of that. Like that, you divide. What? Work I will do. Worry, God will take care. So anytime anything comes as worry, you say, not my department. Go to him. Why? Because that is his job, to take care of my worries. What is my job? My job is to work. Remember, when we start worrying and stop working, poor God has to come and work for us. So better thing, worry, you send it to him, saying that go there, go there. That is my partner's job. My job is to work. No, but whether I will get this job or not, whether I will, if I do like this, will worry, go there. By their grace and blessings, everything is possible. Now, many people also, they think that this grace and blessings is something that is very chosen people get. And they say also, oh, you are so lucky, you got it. You see, very beautiful examples scriptures give about explaining this, for explaining this grace. How God's grace or Guru's grace works. So sometimes they will say God's grace is like rain, that it falls equally on everything. It's not that on one particular house the rain is not there, everywhere around it. It doesn't happen like that. Rain comes for everyone. Now it's on us how we take that rain. Sometimes they will say grace is like sun. Now if you have set up your room which opens on south and north, then you won't get any sunlight inside. If you close the east and west side, then you won't get any sunlight inside. You can't blame sun for not having light inside your room. That's in your hand. You put it east west and you open the roof, sunlight will come inside. You put a solar panel, it will even give you electricity. Another beautiful example given is, they say grace is like fire. You go near it, you will get the warmth. You stay away from it and keep shouting, it is so cold, it is so cold. Obviously, it will be cold. Oh, the fire is there, but it is not. That is your mistake. You are sitting far from the fire. Vedanta is giving the knowledge, the Guru is giving the grace, God is showering the blessing, but you are sitting with raincoat. Now you can't complain that I am not getting drenched in that grace. Well, you remove the raincoat, you will get drenched. It's in our hand. Grace and blessing. God is not partial to people. How much we take is in our hand. Right? And very aptly, Pujya Guruji also puts both those things together. That the grace of the Lord and blessings of Guru. Why? Because both are actually same. Upanishad says, one who has got supreme devotion for the Lord, yasya deve para bhakti, yatha deve tatha gurau, tasyaite kathita hyartaha prakashante mahatmana. Says one who has got supreme devotion for the Lord, and as much devotion he has for the Lord, so much if he has for the Guru, for such a person, the Shastras reveal their knowledge themselves. That person even doesn't even have to put efforts to understand. Shastras themselves reveal the knowledge. So as much as devotion for God, that much for Guru when we have, then our job is done. Nothing is impossible for us when we understand that it is God who is working through us. We see in the story of Ramayana also, isn't it? When Sri Rama, after building the bridge, etc., reached at the main gate of Lanka, he said that even now I should give him one chance. One chance should be given if he wants to change his mind. And therefore he sent Angada. Very beautiful story. And Angada went there. Angada was supposed to be messenger. But when Ravana and all the other people started to disrespect Sri Rama, Angada could not take. And Angada said, you forgot who my father was. My father used to tie you to his tail and take you across the whole world. You forgot? And now too you are talking about my master. He says, you are so much arrogant and proud of your prowess and prowess of your Rakshasas. No, I'll give you one simple task. Anyone here, if can move my one foot, one leg I am keeping down, if anyone here can move, Sri Rama will return. You keep Sita ji. you imagine, okay? You understand the seriousness of this bet. If by mistake anybody would have moved Angada's foot, okay, all the things that Sri Rama has done so far and all the patience with which Sita ji was waiting, all would have gone waste. And Ramayana would not have ended how it wanted. It ended finally But Angada was clear. Angada immediately closed his eyes and remembered Bhagavan Sri Ram and said, Bhagavan, if you want your wife, please take care of my foot. It is as simple as that. I am not telling that I am so powerful that you can't move my feet. That is not the point at all. I am saying that my master is so powerful that by his grace, you cannot move my foot. Humility automatically comes when we understand that nothing is happening by our action. It is only by their grace that the things are happening. More and more we start serving, more and more we start walking the spiritual path, the grace becomes evident everywhere. We understand that on the spiritual path, we can't do anything because we are good for nothing people. Actually, the only thing that we can do really is a mistake. That's our property and that's what we are good in. All other things that happen in our life are by God's grace. You just imagine how we drive our vehicle, what kind of food we eat, and what kind of habits we have. We are alive today is a miracle, I'm telling you. And that's what is grace. That even after all these things, we are still sitting and able to reflect on such spiritual things is indeed a grace. Without that grace, it is not possible. We would have been thrown out of this world long back if it was only on us. It's only by God's grace. You call it God's grace, you call it Guru's blessing. This is one and the same. It's by their grace and blessings that we are able to do things. And when that is there, we can do anything. That's what Guruji says. Now, the last verse. Purposely, I am not giving time for questions. Okay? Don't look at the watch. We are going to complete the text today, and next Sunday, entire session we are going to have for question and answer. Okay? That's why I am completing, and that's why today I am not going to take any question. Okay? So that next session, entire session will only be for question and answer. Right? Last verse. Please repeat. Prapsyami shighram manaso hi shuddhim.
प्राप्स्यामि शीघ्रं मनसो हि शुद्धं
लीना स्वरूपे भविता च बुद्धिः.
लीना स्वरूपे भविता च बुद्धिः
पश्यन् निजानन्द स्वरूपलोकम्.
पश्यन् निजानन्दस्वरूपलोकम्
सुखं चरिष्यामि सदा विमुक्तः.
सुखं चरिष्यामि सदा विमुक्तः
प्राप्स्यामि शीघ्रं मनसो हि शुद्धिं. लीना स्वरूपे भविता च बुद्धिः. पश्यन् निजानन्द स्वरूपलोकम्. सुखं चरिष्यामि सदा विमुक्तः. It's a tradition in our culture that whenever all the verses are in one particular meter, it always ends in a longer meter. That's how you will see even the Adi Kavya, Valmiki ji's Ramayana, many chapters he writes verses after verses in Anushtup, but the last verse he will put as Trishtup, longer meter. That's what Pujya Guruji continues. All the verses so far were shorter meter, same meter. Now he changes the meter and concludes. What does he say? He says, Shighram, quickly, Manasaha Shuddhim Prapsyami. I shall attain Shuddhim, purity, Manasaha of the mind. Soon I will attain purity of my mind. Swarupe Buddhihi Leena Bhavita. Swarupe, in my own supreme nature, Buddhihi, my intellect, Leena Bhavita, will become merged, will become one. So soon I will gain the purity of my mind. Soon my intellect will merge in my nature. Pashyan Nijananda Swarupa Lokam. Nija Ananda Swarupa Loka. The world which is of the nature of my own bliss. Pashyan. Seeing that, Sukham Charishyami. I shall walk around, roam around, Sukham, happily. How? Sada vimuktaha. Always remaining free. I will walk around in this world totally experiencing the bliss of the self. Don't forget where we started. What was the first verse that we saw? In the very first verse, Pujya Guruji said, Paramatma Advayananda. What is my true nature? My true nature is that of that undivided bliss, non-dual bliss. Sarva bhuta sthitopiha. I am there, pervading everything, every being, but ajnanena avritaha, but covered by ignorance, tatha evacha manomalaye, and covered by impurities of the mind. I don't experience that bliss within me or outside me. Now, after the entire text, after understanding everything, what does he say? That I shall reach that stage where I will experience that blissful nature in me and outside me also. It's my own nature. And how will it happen? It will happen because my impurities of the mind will be gone. It will happen because my intellect will become leaner, merged into my supreme nature, and therefore it will happen. Now, it will happen means what? One thing, while explaining this, Pujya Guruji gives clarity about the goal. This is what is the goal. Till the time you are able to experience that bliss of the self in and through everything, till the time you are not affected by sorrow even a bit, till the time your mind is completely bereft of all your impurities, till the time your intellect has not become one with the Supreme, you have to keep walking. That is one thing. It gives clarity on the goal. Second thing, it gives us assurance that yes, it will happen. That's the assurance that our Vedanta gives. It may appear as though, that it will happen means it has not happened. That is the way to say that if I go through the whole process, it will happen for me too. One can also look at this verse as a prayer and say that by God's grace, oh Bhagavan, please bless me that this all will happen. Oh Pujya Gurudev, please bless me that all these things will happen to me. In this way, we come towards the end of this wonderful text. As the tradition goes, let us read the first verse again and we will conclude. This is just to remind us that the study is not over. We have just gone through all the verses, right? We have to reflect on all of them again and again, and therefore we are reading the first verse again, just to remind us that the study should continue, the reflection should continue. We'll read the first verse again and we'll stop for today. Together. Paramatma dvayanandah sarvabhutasthitopiha ajnanenavruto drishtah tathaiva cha manomalaihi. Sufficient for today. I know you will have some questions, and what you can do is immediately you can put the question, start putting the questions in the group. How you should do it is just put number 1, put your questions, put your name, put number 2, and then post, so that whoever wants to add will add into the same message. And so at the end of it, all the questions will be there in one place. So you want to add a question, you copy that first the message, you add your question and name and post it again in the group. That way nobody has to copy everything together and give us. Okay. If you have question today, please do it today itself. Start putting the questions today onwards. Okay. Otherwise you will forget what was the question. Then next time you will unmute and say, Vedji, I had a question, but I forgot. Don't say like that. Put the question immediately down. Answer will be given in the next class. Next class is only for this. Okay. I'm not going to take anything else other than this. All right. If time permits, I may just give a summary of the entire text, if time permits. But otherwise, we will just go through the question and answer, doubt clarification. Right. as our tradition goes, that we always offer our gratitude towards our gurus, because of whom this entire knowledge has come to us, and that we do in the form of Guru Dakshina. So all of us are going to offer our Guru Dakshina. As I already told you, I am not your guru. So I am also student in this entire journey. So all of us students will offer our Guru Dakshina to Pujya Gurudev, who represents the entire Guru Parampara. So the details of how to offer Guru Dakshina, etc., will be posted in the group by Sunita and by Chinmaya Mission Mumbai Mahima Zone people, and you can follow the process and offer your Guru Dakshina. Next session, we will conclude with the doubt clarification and of course valedictory, also small valedictory. And next session, we will also tell you about what next. Okay, let us keep surprise for 1 week. Next class, we will speak of that. All right, let us conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.